I find it quite baffling how we can still have black people out here who will make an effort to defend the movie No Good Deed. Now, the movie No Good Deed is indefensible in my opinion because the character that Idris Elba plays, Colin, is nothing more than a black brute. And a lot of people just can't differentiate between a black brute and a villain. And one of the things people like to say is that, oh, black men can't play bad guys. Well, no one's saying that black men can't play bad guys. Black men have played bad guys in the past, and I'll give you several examples of bad guys. You have Michael Clark Duncan, the late Michael Clark Duncan, who played the Kingpin in Daredevil. That was very people. A lot of people praised his performance as the bad guy. I'll go on to say that Wesley Snipes played Nino Brown in New Jack City, and he played a bad guy, and he played it so well that it became one of his signature roles, and one of the ones that propelled him to stardom back in the early 1990s. And I'll go on to talk about Keith David, who played two bad guys in two different movies. The first bad guy he played was in Barbershop in 2002, I believe, where he was the loan shark who loans Ice Cube the money to keep his barbershop. And Keith David also played a bad guy in the movie Dead Presidents, where he was again, a street hustler of some type who was somewhat of a father figure to the character, to to Lorenz Tate's character in that movie. So no one is saying that they have a problem. I'm not saying I have a problem with black men playing bad guys. I'll also go on to talk about Bill Duke because Bill Duke also played a bad guy in the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic Commando. He also played a bad guy. So, no, I'm not saying that I have a problem with black men playing bad guys. I have a problem with the way these bad guys are portrayed in movies. And because a lot of black people don't understand, the difference between a black brute and a black villain, they automatically think that, you're trying to tear somebody like an Idris Elba down for playing a character like Colin in No Good Deed. No, my issue with the movie No Good Deed is that it features a very, very shallow depiction of black men and a very, very racist and stereotypical image of black men. When you look at the movie No Good Deed, it just features a savage black man, terrorizing and wreaking havoc for probably 90 to 120 minutes. You don't see this, black man using any sort of intelligence or any sort of skill or any sort of, anything to show us any sort of multidimensionality or depth at all in the context of the movie. All you see is him just causing mayhem, havoc, and terror, um, just like your Black Brute did in old media, such as a Little Rascals movie I watched on VHS many years ago, which featured this savage who everybody from the wild man from Borneo, who only knew how to say the phrase in English, yum yum, eat 'em up. But everywhere he went, he was just causing mayhem and havoc to other brutes, such as, all the male depictions in the movie The Color Purple, or um, other brutes such as Ike Turner in the movie What's Love Got to Do with It, or the other black brutes like Denzel Washington's character Alonzo in Training Day. Now, your black brute, a lot of people don't understand, is a historically racist stereotype used to make statements about black men, negative statements about black men. And the black brute is designed to say that your black man is a violent, prone, out of control savage who you know is just he has no self control, he has no self discipline, he is completely violent, and whenever he sees a white woman, he pretty much loses his mind. And when we look at the movie No Good Deed, all of these stereotypes are put up to the forefront for everyone to see. I mean, in the movie No Good Deed, we have Colin, who is on his way, who has been charged with a whole bunch of murders. Um, he's on his way to, he's being transferred from prison, not from prison, from jail, to a to go do something with trial. He kills the people in the van that's transporting him, takes the van, steals the van or whatever. I don't really understand synopsis of this movie. I just read things on it about it, and I've seen different clips. But he kills these people after being accused of murder, um, and then goes back to where his white wife lives, you know, to kill her. Where he goes and he kills her, and then you know then goes to terrorize the black female played by Taraji P. Henson in the hopes of finding out where the husband is, because she's the white woman he was married to was having an affair with another black man, and he wants to kill them both, and then he terrorizes this black woman while doing so. And this is what clearly fits a stereotype of the black brute. Here we have again a violent, prone, out of control black man who is out here just causing mayhem, terror, and havoc. And he goes around. After he kills this white woman, goes and terrorizes this black woman with her child and her baby. And then at the end of the movie, and because of I'm getting tongue tied here, but this is what he does. He terrorizes this woman over the course of the 90 minutes, and people just don't see this, as a savage breathing new life into this old stereotype of a black brute. And what the black brute he's the worst stereotype you could ever talk about black men. It's what it promotes the idea that your black man isn't intelligent, your black man is a savage, your black man is a violent control and out of control. And when he sees a white woman, this is what makes most white women clutch their purse, because they see this black man. This is what they think, that he's going to commit all sorts of. He's either going to murder her or he's going to rape her. And this is what the new spin they put on it with this movie is, that they also said that he terrorizes the black woman. But on the flip side of that, they show how weak this black man is, because he, for all of his brutality and violence, at the end of the movie, it's a black woman who kills him. So it pretty much, that the entire movie, No Good Deed, is a real slap in the face to black men. But a lot of black men, they get caught up in the dysfunctional argument, believing that this movie um, is good for them because, it portrays a black man as a bad guy. Again, it does not portray a black man as a bad guy. It breathes brand new life into the old stereotype that the black man is a violent, prone, out of control brute. Moreover, it says that the black man is such a simp and so weak that he will, one, chase a white woman, and that two, a black woman, even though she's being terrorized by this savage, can eventually get over him. So it was saying that the black man is pretty much really weak, because all the images of black men in this movie are some of the weakest images of black man known to man. And again, it breathes brand new life into the old stereotype that the black man is a complete savage. And this is in contrast to the images I made example of, that Keith David portrayed in Dead Presidents and Barbershop, and the one that Bill Duke portrayed in Commando, and also the late Michael Clark Duncan's portrayal in The Kingpin, because Wesley Snipes' portrayal in New Jack City, because at least these bad guys, when you saw them in each of these films, portrayed their roles with a semblance of intelligence. They had some sense of skill. Excuse me. They, you know, had some depth to their character. Their characters were integral to the story, and they had a sense of plot and purpose. Whereas the Idris Elba character in No Good Deed is nothing more than your violent, prone, just out of control savage. I mean, if this man was supposed to be on trial for already committing murder, how does that help him by committing more murders? I mean, people just don't see, how this goes. This is almost because when I heard about this movie, I saw the clips and I said, just looking at the clips in the trailer, and I said, this is a black brute. And a lot of people, they just don't understand, how this stereotype has a direct impact on black men, because when you see when this type of stereotype is perpetuated, it doesn't help black men at all. I mean, if we look at um, cases in the media, such as your Trayvon Martins, your Michael Browns, and your Eric Garners, this very stereotype is the one that people use to justify what happened to all three of these men. And when people, black people continue to watch movies like this, all it does is reinforce in people's minds that, black people are not consistent about um, dealing with issues of race. Because what happened with the movie No Good Deed is black people helped make this movie the number one movie in America 2 weeks in a row. It became a box office hit. $50 million at the box office. And this is all while people went out here and marched and protested over Michael Brown and Eric Garner. And what that did by going out to go see this movie was weaken the position, because you can't say that a black life matters and then go out and spend money to go see the movie which perpetuates the very same stereotypes that got all three of these men killed. And this is what black people went out and did. And it's their actions that pretty much, weaken their position, because this movie, again, just because it had black people in it, doesn't mean that it was good for black people. This was a movie that I believe black people should have gone out and protested, because this movie, again, perpetuates the worst stereotypes about black men, the very same stereotypes that got your Michael Brown killed, your Eric Garner killed, and even your Trayvon Martin killed, because this is the stereotype that many racists use to justify attacking and terrorizing black men and in black communities. And this movie was not about, promoting the image of a black villain. Because again, the other movies I mentioned, Desert Presidents, Commando, um, Daredevil, they all featured black bad. In New Jack City, all featured black bad guys. But it was the way these bad guys were portrayed that make them, complex and multidimensional. And when you see these bad guys, you see that there's more to them than meets the eye. Whereas the difference between those bad guys and Colin was a flat, one-dimensional savage who went from frame to frame and scene to scene, terrorizing and causing mayhem, havoc, and violence. And if you understood, the Black Brute, and like I do, because I've read the Fair State website where they talk about these old racist black stereotypes. I've also done research on it in other materials, like books like your Richard Wright's Native Son, that features a black brute, and again, other movies I have just previously mentioned, like What's Love Got to Do with It, um, Training Day, and you've read these different materials, you get a better, and the Little Rascals video I just mentioned, where they have the wild man from Borneo, and people and the Little Rascals think that he's Uncle George. You get an understanding of what a black brute is and how destructive this stereotype is to the image of black men, because this stereotype presents black men as unintelligent, out of control, violent prone savages with a bit of a sexual deviancy whenever they see, a white woman, and that everybody needs to, clutch their purse or clutch their pearls whenever they see this black man, and they need to, take a look over their shoulder. This is what this stereotype really represents when it comes to black men. It presents the worst image, of black men, and makes everybody think that this black man is a terror, and he's something to be afraid of. He's a menace to society, and in many cases is so out of control that he has to be put down like a rabid dog. This is what the brute represents, and in every case of every movie, almost every movie featuring this black brute, and media featuring this black brute, such as Your Native Son, um, and Your No Good Deed, at the end of the story, usually this savage, violent, prone black man is killed. And usually it's done in old pulp novels where they feature this black brute. It was done in the most horrifying fashion, because in Native Son, he was given the electric chair. In No Good Deed, he's killed by the very black woman he's terrorizing. But in old school pulp novels, they used to lynch this black man. And it was considered, justified to kill a black man. And again, it goes back to your Black Lives Matter. What this type of media does is it devalues the life of black men, and it tells you, this black man has no humanity, so you have every right to kill him, because he looks human on the surface, but in actuality, he's a savage, and you have every reason to kill him because you are defending yourself from this out of control, violent prone savage and, this destructive black brute. And so you are justified in defending yourself from them. And this type of dehumanization, prevents us from seeing the humanity in black men, the intelligence of black men, and seeing, that a black man is just as valuable as any other man in society. Because, again, I'm going to go right back to this Black Lives Matter thing because you can't say a black man's life, matters and that a black man's life has value and then continue to support media like this because this media is not about portraying a black man as a bad guy. This media is about promoting the image of a black man that is a savage, violent prone, again, brute, that, reinforces all the racist ideas that your white supremacist and even many of your pro-blacks have regarding black men. So this is why I do not support this movie, and I cannot say that it is a good movie, and it does not portray a black man playing a bad guy. Again, a bad guy is a whole different thing. I have written bad guys in many of my stories, like, for example, The Temptation of John Haynes here. I have the character Lucifer is a bad guy. He's also inspired by Keith David, but Lucifer is a bad guy, and he uses intelligence and skill, and he's literally almost like a chess player, um, and this is what he does. Because a bad guy is richer and more complex than just going from frame to frame of a film or chapter to chapter of a novel, just randomly killing people and breaking up stuff and causing all sorts of terror and mayhem and havoc. He uses strategy and skills because he has a goal that he has, set in his mind. That's not what you see in the movie No Good Deed. You do not see a bad guy. You see basically a black brute. And many people, they fell for the okie doke regarding this movie because, many black people are starved for their own image. So they thought, oh, it's a movie with two black people in it. But they didn't, go past that surface and really, dig deep into the meat of the story to see, what this movie is about. Because what I've always known is you have to really look a lot further into the substance of a movie before you go out and drop money on it for a movie ticket. Because this was not about, black people supporting a black movie. Because this movie was made by a British director and a non-black studio. And yes, it had featured two black people on the forefront, on the front of it, Taraji P. Henson and Idris Elba, and it also had Henry Simmons in it. But this movie did not promote, a positive image of black people or a humanized image of black people. What this movie did was breathe brand new life into old stereotypes, and make them the social norm. Because if we look outside at places like Baltimore, if we look at cases like Michael Brown, this movie did not help with the image of helping and presenting, a balanced image of black men. All it did was breathe brand new life into the same old stereotypes that are getting black men killed by police officers and getting them, arrested for all sorts of crimes. And what a lot of black people just need to look at is they have to take, a more scrutinized image look at the media that's presented to them and just not say, oh, there's some black faces in it, let me go support it. Because this movie was not a success, for all the efforts to try to deal with issues like your Black Lives Matter. All this movie did was set black people back because all it did was say, send two messages to the world. One, that black people do not value their image enough to, even go out and protest against negative images. And two, that, black people aren't really serious about Black Lives Matter, because if they wanted to deal with the issue of black men being killed by police officers and non-black people, they wouldn't have gone out to go support this movie, because this movie features the very same stereotypes that, again, got Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, and numerous black men killed. And to say that you're going to go watch this movie and then go protest it pretty much shows some hypocrisy, and I'd even say some cognitive dissonance, because you're saying that, Black Lives Matter, but then you go out and watch a movie where people have little regard, where a black man has little regard for human life, and that people have little regard for this black man's life. Um, that's all I have to say for this video. If you want to see a balanced image of black villains, you can go pick up The Temptation of John Haynes here in paperback, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, so you can borrow it for free. Um, the Temptation of John Haynes features some of the most balanced images of black people, and when you read this story, you will see, balanced images of black people, humanized images of black people, and you will come to understand, there's a big difference between a black person playing a bad guy and a black person being a black brute. I also urge you to go over to the Ferris State EDU website and take a look at all the racist Negro caricatures, because all of those stereotypes are continually being perpetuated about black people every day, and you really need to get a better understanding of them, because there's a difference between, again, a bad guy and a racist stereotype like a brute or a coon, and it'll just broaden your mind and give you some perspective. Again, that's all I have to say for this video. You comment, rate, and subscribe.